everybody, welcome to Sunday at 7 with Miss Sandra, and at the moment we're working our way through the 1946 London lectures. There's about 34 lectures in here, and this week we're going to be looking at lecture number 19, so the most important age, Montessori calls this. So we've got a really interesting lecture this evening for you to listen to, or if you're watching it on catch-up. We're up to lecture 19. So this is the most important age, and I'm going to read from the book, but I've got it down here in big print so I can see it to start with. And Montessori says, free activity makes children happy. We can see how happy they are, but it is not the fact they're happy that's important. The important thing is that the child can construct an adult through this free activity. An adult doesn't just happen. He does not just grow like a flower. A child does not act as an adult. Adults apply their energies, their maturity to do something, but a child acts in accordance with nature in order to construct an adult. The consequences of this free activity is that he grows the right way. And many of you will know, because you follow me, that our family uses Montessori. So I have my children, they're all grown up, and I wasn't trained in Montessori, but I can see that I was very Montessori and aligned in the way I supported them to learn. But now I have my grandchildren. I've been Montessori aligned for about 20 years. My oldest grandchild is 11. So the children very much have benefited from Montessori. They all came through the nursery chain, the group that I worked for. So today then, this free choice activity, Roman's been here this afternoon, and I just want to show you what he chose to do today. So somebody very kindly donated this lovely play kitchen, which I have outside, and it came with some tubs of plastic food. But Roman has dismissed those, and he has this beautiful like spice set with the little pots in, just a perfect piece for a Montessori teacher. And he's picked all of my fresh herbs from the garden. So he's picked parsley, mint, chives. He knows what they are. He knows what they smell like. He's made in here a mint tea in his coffee machine and his saucepans. And this was his free choice work. And he's played with this for a long time because he absolutely loved it. And he's constructing himself. How many skills is he learning here? He's educated his sense of smell. He can now detect the different herbs through sight, through the leaf shape. So, you know, leaf cabinet work here, but for real. So this has really, really helped him. He's learned, he knows how to use this machine because mummy and daddy have this machine. So he's made a tea. And this is him constructing himself, isn't it? Through his work. He's really valued what he was doing, and actually when he'd finished making his tea, he came in and asked for some milk to go in it as well. So I let him have some milk because he understood he wasn't going to actually drink it. But you know, so much learning from free activity. So there, let's get back to our lecture now. But I'd just like to make it a little bit real for you. I know people love examples of, you know, real work and what children do. So in this lecture then, Dr. Maria Montessori emphasises the most critical period in human development is the age between 2 and 3 years old. It's during this time that we have the foundations, our personalities developing, our characters developing, and that individuality, that thing that makes us unique. All of these things are being formed, not by external teaching, but from the child's own activity and this inner construction they have. And this is why it's so important that we play our role. If our role isn't to teach and to influence that way, what do we do? Our role is to prepare that beautiful environment so that the things our child does interact with, the opportunities they have to construct themselves, are all opportunities that we want them to have, things we know are going to be good to learn from. So I know that Roman loves cooking. Every time he comes in, he wants to be up at the worktops. He wants to have the juicer and make juice. But you know what? Sometimes it's not practical to have him cooking. I haven't got things that need doing. So by having his own kitchen in the yard where he can run around, use his need to move, go and freely pick the herbs because I have them growing everywhere. He can come and get a pair of scissors and cut them with scissors because he knows that's a skill he has. If you look back at previous videos of mine, he's out in the yard doing that when he's 2 years old. He's now approaching four in September. So, you know, good well, we're nearly 4, aren't we? We're only a month or so off 4. So he's constructing himself through his activity, but we're making sure that what's available are really good quality activities that he's going to learn from. So we do have some control because we prepare the environment for the child. We value what we put out, and if we don't value what's out, we shouldn't be putting it there. If we think after 5 minutes, oh, I don't want the child doing that any longer, why did you have it out in the first place? We have to look at everything and think, the child's going to construct themselves from this activity. How do I make it a valuable activity for them? And sometimes it is just about having fun, isn't it? And developing our emotional well-being, but we need to be happy with what it is we're giving to them. So Montessori really challenges us then as adults to shift our perspective. And it's been really interesting with people have been messaging me different questions the last few days, and some of them will appear in the Montessori with Miss Sandra group tomorrow. And one of the things that I really think is important is that you view your child as a worker, not a helper. So if you're doing tasks in the house and your child is doing something, they are working. And by calling them the worker, they take responsibility, they're proud of the task, they're equal to you, they're not subservient to you, they're not your little helper. But there are times when they're a helper. I need help if I spill something that's my work and I need someone to help me tidy it up. That's helping me because it was my task. But it's really important in a lot of the tasks to see the child as a worker, and that's changing how we view children, isn't it? That's shifting our perspective, and it's one of the things that Montessori talks about in this lecture. So rather than seeing the child as well as somebody that we shape, we have to recognise that the child is shaping themselves through the work, through the opportunities that we're making available. Another big difference, I'm from talking to Mr. John, we've had a lot of conversations about why children in Europe quite often are so advanced in their skills and their thinking. And one thing we've discussed is the lack of opportunities for some of the children in Africa compared with many of the children in Europe. You can't have a general sweeping statement because there is poverty and there are children, you know, in other parts of the world that are in terrible situations at the moment. But in general, you know, children in some countries have far less opportunity, and that also means that it's more difficult for them to construct themselves and to become the adult of the future. They haven't had that level of experience. So we have to recognise the child is shaping themselves. We have to do the best we can with the environment we have for the child to develop as well. Because in this stage of their life, the child is quietly building their future self, not through us instructing them, but through freely chosen activity in the environment prepared to support all of their efforts. I'll give you another wonderful example. So Ronald, who runs Happy Hearts Academy in Uganda, the children there are extremely poor. And I'm going to give the example, you know, people live in houses made out of mud. They build things out of rubbish, what we would see as rubbish. A cardboard box is a really valuable teaching resource. It will get cut up, it will get painted, it will be made into numbers. And how does Ronald, who has no resources, no shop to buy resources to come from, how does he educate his children? And when we talk about practical life skills, his children are doing real life skills. His 10-year-old is the pig farmer who comes in at a weekend because he's so proud of his role caring for the new piglets, and that is his work, and he takes it so seriously that he turns up on non-school days to care for his pigs because he's taken ownership of that task. And he's spoken to me on the phone, and this big beaming smile from this 10-year-old boy, because that is his work and he takes pride in it, and he knows how serious it is to make sure his piglets and his mummy pig are fed. So this is shaping him for the future. He now has a role and a purpose, and I can see him grow in height because he's so proud of himself. And the other children, they go out into the gardens and they water the plants with Ronald, because if they don't water the plants, their food doesn't grow. It's real life. They understand about pests, about insects, about things that are going to eat their food, about the need to water their food. When it's ripe, they harvest it. When it's raining and the grain has been collected and laid in sheets in the yard, if they see the rain coming, the children run to get the sheets and roll it up to cover it up, because they know that their food will rot if it gets wet. And this is real life experience that Ronald is giving these children that are skills for life. They're learning how to grow their food, how to care for their crops, the important things, the things that are dangerous. all of this activity, Ronald doesn't have to tell his children to do it. They freely choose to come and work in the fields because they're so proud of the fact they grow food. And food means they're not hungry, and it's so important to them. So they walk kilometres every day because they're going to come to school to get an education, to get food, to learn how to care for the crops and the animals, the pigs, the chicken, to draw up the water from the well. So many things that we've added to the school through supporting them. So when I first met Ronald, they didn't have any of those things. They were really struggling. He was at the point of, shutting his school because he couldn't fulfil the children's needs. And then we've come along, and through sponsorship, raising money, we have transformed the school with Ronald, who works incredibly hard. But the children see Ronald as that shining example of work achieves what you want to achieve. He's always happy. The children are always happy, and they don't own a toy amongst them, and they have a few books, but those children have 3 items of clothing each and a pair of shoes if they're lucky, and they're the happiest children you see because they are constructing the adults of the future. They are engaged in real work. They're valued for what they do, and it's so wonderful to see that developing in his children. They really have a belief in their future. So it's took a real shift of perspective with them as well, to see those children as real workers making their future for themselves. So Montessori then talks about, in the lecture, about the image of a silhouette around the child. She doesn't mean the adult, us. We're not the silhouette around the child. It is the child as the future adult is there. It's there as a silhouette. It's the adult. She puts it as the man. I've changed the wording to adult. It's the adult that he will become. It's not the teacher, it's not the parent, but this outline is the future adult. It's already present. The potential is already there in the child, and this is what we're supporting the development of. We're supporting this beautiful child to grow into this full-size adult. The potential is there. We just need to nurture it and be gentle. So through the child's own actions, the child is slowly going to fill out this outline. They're going to grow. They're going to construct their personality, their habits, their values from within, and from what we support them with within as well. So this vision, seeing the child as a child with the silhouette of who they're going to be growing around them, filling it out every day, it calls to us then to respect the child's inner work, to understand it, and to avoid interfering with this process of who they're going to become. We just need to nurture it gently. So a key part of this inner work is what Montessori calls then cycles of free activity. The child has to be given freedom to choose meaningful tasks and repeat them as long as they need to. So if you have a child that needs to carry a bucket of stones around the garden, emptying them out, getting more stones, going back, filling it up again, taking it back, that child has a need to move. That child has a need to exercise their muscles, to carry heavy things. This is that child's inner nature telling them what they need to do, the drive to do this. The child is working. This is real work constructing the strength this child needs to grow into an adult. So it's really important then that we observe children. So when we see a child won't engage in a task, the child isn't ready for that task, their inner drive isn't taking them to that task, we are offering the wrong thing. We need to challenge ourselves and think, what does this child need from me? What does this group of children need from me? Because this is our role. We are here to prepare the environment, to give those tasks, to make available the thing the child needs to construct himself. So another thing Montessori talks about here is in these cycles, the child will develop concentration, independence, and an inner discipline through work. But what about when we interrupt this activity? What about when we correct the child? Oh, you're not quite carrying that properly. Stop. The child was busy working, and all of a sudden we've criticised them, and that's going to just have a little bit of harm on them. And then they might think, I doubt myself now. Do I carry it like this, or do I do it like that? Am I going to get corrected again? I might just put this task down and move over there because I didn't like that criticism. What about if you distract them? Oh, quick, look, this is happening, come and watch this in the kitchen, when your child was really engaged in what they were doing. So you've broken their concentration, one of the most important things that we can have in a child. But what if you're constantly doing it? What if you're constantly breaking concentration? What if you're in a classroom and every 2 minutes someone's ringing the doorbell? Somebody comes in because they need a cracker. Somebody comes in to tell you it's lunchtime. Every time your work cycle is being disrupted, you're breaking your children's concentration and you're damaging them for the future. So this constant correcting, distracting, hurrying the child. Come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, because it's dinner time in 2 minutes and we've got to be packed away. We've had the tidy up music. Calm down. Respect the child's work. Just say to the child, when you've finished your task, come and join us. It's not going to be the whole class. It's going to be 1 or 2 children. But if your child's spent the last 20 minutes working with the spindle box and they've put through and worked from 0 through to 7, are you really going to stop them completing 8 and 9? How would you feel if you got to this point in my lecture and I decide to stop now and I just turn my phone off? You're all going to be thinking, well, what was going to happen at the end? That was really rude. We didn't finish the task. And you might think, well, I won't bother watching Sandra next week because she cut off halfway through because she didn't want us to finish. We have to have the same respect for the children, not hurrying them, not interrupting them, not correcting them, not breaking their rhythm of development and hindering the formation of themselves as a person. So it's really important that we reflect on ourselves when is it actually acceptable to interfere, to stop? If the fire alarm goes, yes, we have to. If we have to go into lockdown, yes, we need to. So in emergencies, we might need to. We might need to do something because we can see something dangerous is going to happen in the class and we need to distract quickly. That's acceptable. On a everyday view, though, when our children are working, we need to respect it. We need to, if necessary, speak to other staff and say, during the work cycle, we're on the floor with the children. We're not talking across the room. No talk about when lunch times are. We sort that out before we start, or we'll sort it out at the end of work cycle. We don't talk about it during the work cycle. I was very strict about my work cycle. I used to say, unless someone's, dying and you need me, you don't knock on the door. You don't come and ask me for anything. You don't ring me to ask me anything that can wait until after 11:30. So it's really important if you're a teacher to protect that because it's so important to the children. Every distraction breaks your work cycle, breaks their concentration, stops them developing. Montessori also warns against psychic injury. So at this age, she says children are really sensitive and emotionally exposed. So a harsh word, an impatient correction. I've told you 3 times. Oh my goodness. That was, we should respect our child so much that when a child does speak harshly to them, it's such a shock because they've never experienced it before that they're upset by it. It shouldn't happen all the time. We shouldn't use harsh words with our children. We shouldn't impatiently correct them. We shouldn't ridicule them. I'm just going to open the door a little bit because I have better internet signal when it can bounce through to the house, and my door had just managed to shut itself over and my signal was dropping. So we really need to be careful then about psychic injury, she calls it, to the children. So they're really sensitive, so we're not going to impatiently correct a child. Do we need to correct a child? Do we just need to note where the error was in their work and go back and correct it another time? If a child has said a word incorrectly, can we just say it properly the next time we have that item? If a child has said, oh, I really like the nana at snack, do we need to correct them then, or can we wait till circle time and do syllable clapping for fruits? And we can all clack apple, banana. And that way we're giving the child the correct information, aren't we? We don't need to go and correct a child and knock their confidence or them think, oh, I got that wrong. We don't need to ridicule children either. No teasing them. No leaving what Montessori calls invisible wounds because, they do affect us, don't they? So Montessori also says that they might not remember consciously in later life these things, but it affects their personality. It affects their behaviour. It could form children to have even phobias. So, for example, as adults, we have phobias. We weren't born with them. Where have they come from? Lots of people are scared of spiders. Why are you scared of spiders? Because one of your parents was scared of spiders? Your teacher was scared of spiders? Did they make a fuss and go, oh, it's a spider, it's a spider, get it out? So now you think, oh my goodness, it's a spider? Are you scared of the dentist? Is it because someone else has made you scared of the dentist? Are you scared of swimming because a parent was scared of swimming? I don't particularly like swimming. I don't like getting my face wet. I'm not scared of swimming. I just don't like being splashed on my face. I've had to learn to cope with it because the grandchildren think splashing's amazing and great fun, but I don't like it. But I had to be really careful when my children were younger that I didn't say, oh, I don't like going swimming, because I wanted them to be good swimmers. And I really had to challenge myself to go, oh, let's go swimming. It's going to be really exciting, when my insides were going, oh my goodness, I hope I don't get wet in the face because I really don't like it. So we really have to think about phobias, things that have affected us, and make sure we don't pass those on to the children as well. How do people get scared of spiders, scared of mushrooms, scared of dogs? Probably through a bad experience again, so it's understandable. But we really need to prevent as many of these things as we can. So Montessori did observe then that lots of fears, lots of anxieties experienced by adults have their roots in early childhood. They're often formed during moments when the child was, say, came across something awful has happened to them. They've been frightened by something, they've had a harsh experience of something. So the child then doesn't freely enjoy that activity. They begin to shrink back, they hesitate when they see those things. Maybe if a child has been scolded, they then are seeking approval before they do something as well. And that's really harmful for the child, isn't it? Thinking, I need to get approval before I go and do this. I just need to wait and see what the adult says because I don't quite go and have a do of that myself. So instead of acting freely then, you know, our children don't act freely. It's really damaging. They're not enjoying what they're doing. And also, these little corrections that go on with work are what stops our children then wanting to go and do more challenges. So somebody asked me about, you know, well, how do we make sure they've done their maths and their letter work before we let them go and play with the practical life and the sensorial? Well, isn't that about our attitude? Isn't this all wonderful work that we learn from? And don't we do the touch tablets in sensorial? And when the child can keep their fingers on the rough and detect when they're on the smooth, don't we say, wow, you're so good at that we can move on to doing the sandpaper numbers now. This is amazing. And the child thinks, wow, I'm really clever and I get to do the sandpaper numbers, which is a very different attitude to, right, today you've got to sit and do your numbers before you can go and choose. Well, firstly, I don't like being told what to do because I'm that sort of child. So why should I do my numbers? And this sounds really boring because you're making me do it. So this sounds far too much like a chore and not a task I'm going to enjoy. So thank you, I'll just go and use the practical life. And if you try and get me to do my numbers, I'm really going to kick up. I might even have a little turn and make some noise and scream and stick myself on the floor because I don't want to do the numbers with you, thank you. So it's really, really important then that we value everything as work, that you understand the process, you understand how to joyfully move the child from one task to another with that invitation of, wow, you are so good at pouring and using that sponge that you could use the landforms. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Rather than, oh, we've got to do geography with them today and it's really boring. I didn't like geography at school. Well, I didn't, but I don't tell the children that. Everything to me is a joy to learn about. And this, by training, is how you learn. You learn the philosophy, you learn the joy of learning, how to pass this joy on to the children, how to scaffold their learning one step at a time, that zone of proximal development, what I know now and what's going to come next. It's all embedded there in the Montessori training, in the materials, in the sequence of everything that we do. And this is what you need to understand to be Montessori with your children, whether you're in class, whether you're at home, you're a childminder, you're a teacher. It's essential to understand this so we nurture every child at the point when they're ready to take that next step. And they have to be ready so that it's joyful, they're successful. We're not trying to test children. We're not trying to make some pass and some fail. We're trying to make them all pass. We're trying to make them all succeed. And we do that by understanding where they are and by what we put out in our environment. So Montessori finally then urges adults to adopt a posture of humility. So the child's development is not something we produce. It's a miracle of self-construction taking place before our very eyes. And if you take the time and you sit back, you will see it in every single child. Now, they will all learn different skills at different times in their lives, at different speed. They'll all have different abilities, and we value all of that in every child, but they need to be different. Because to run this world, we all need different skills. We don't all need a degree in English. We don't all need an NVQ3 in childcare. We all need something different so that the whole world runs. But what we really need is peaceful adults who have wonderful, kind and caring personalities, who respect each other's needs, beliefs, cultures and religions too. And that's what we do in Montessori. We're bringing up thoughtful children, supportive children. We're being kind to them. We're being understanding of them. We're teaching that by our actions, not from having a poster on the wall. So this lecture then is a really powerful reminder. The child then between 2 and 3 is not preparing to become someone. He's already someone. He's already someone that has already been affected by the first 2 to 3 years in their life and what we have done. And I think many of Montessori's lectures are based on the fact that years ago, children would come into us at 3 years of age. These days they come into us as babies, sometimes 3 months old. I think probably the most popular age to come into childcare is around 11 or 12 months when maternity and paternity leave are finished. So we are seeing children much younger. We're having much more influence on their life, and it's really important then to remember that between 2 and 3, they are becoming someone. They're already someone, and that little someone could have already been with us since they were 12 months old. So we are, through what we do, affecting everything that's going to happen within them, their inner development, by how we speak to them, how we handle them, the environment we prepare for them. We play such a huge role. So whether you're a practitioner or if you're a parent at home, because not all parents go back to work. I always count myself as very, very lucky that I didn't go back to work, that I stayed at home with my children because I wanted to and I was able to. So to me that was really precious. And even now my daughter only works 1.5 days a week, so Roman does lots of things with mum, with the family, going to groups. He's not in childcare, but it's really important when you pick your childcare that you pick somewhere where you think these staff are going to care, my child's going to have opportunities. They're not going to be shut in the same 4 walls every day, because that's not healthy, is it? We need to know they're going to get outside in nature, because nature has a big positive effect on our development. So our child then is not becoming someone, he's already somebody. He will, and with our help, will shape the adult he'll become, but it's going to mostly come from his inner work. So our responsibility then, what do we need to do? We need to provide the space, the quiet, the silence, the freedom. Sometimes we need to step back as well and look at this miracle of human and just see the development that's taking place and see actually where we're needed in that process. Not what we want to do, but what are we needed to do? What are we required to do for our child? So I hope you enjoyed that. I've done it slightly differently today. So quite often I read more extracts from the book and talk about it. But I prepared it differently today. I've gone through, I've read it, I've put my interpretation into it and rewritten the talk for you actually. So that was our lecture 19 then from Montessori's 1946 London lectures. Next week is lecture 20, Solving the Social Problem. So we'll see what I prepare next week for that one. Thank you so much for joining me.